Hi everyone, this is Marianne, the Artsy Crafter. Welcome to my channel. This is the third video in the series of how to make a Christmas journal from scratch. Last video we finished with putting some colour on this scrap art page. Today we're going to finish this because this is going to be one of the pages in the journal. Then we'll finish prepping these pages. Then we'll do the finish covering the journal cover, and then we'll sew the signature in, and we'll make some of the background pages. So as usual, there's a lot to do today, so we will get on with it. First of all, we're going to use a text stamp, and we're going to stamp some text on the background. Then we'll just let that dry for a couple of minutes, and then we're going to use some gold and white paints and do some gold and white splatters on that, and then leave that aside until it dries and we do some other things. So I'll put that there and get my black ink out and daub on here. It's just to give a background, nothing. So you just stamp it all over like this. In several places until you're happy with it. There we go. I'll just wipe this off and leave that aside. So we'll just leave that aside until we get some. So I'm going to use this acrylic paint. You can use gesso, or if you've got some gouache paint, you can even use something like just normal house paint. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the lid as my container, and I'll get a paintbrush here somewhere. Where's my big brush? What am I going to use? I can't find my brush. Oh, here it is. And some water here. And I'm just going to put the paint in the lid here. Add some water to make it a creamy consistency, like thickened cream. Just enough so that you can do some splattering. That should be thick, so it's a nice thick liquid like that, if you can see that. Nice and creamy. Put that in there, and then I'll wet I'm going to use my fan brush, and I'm just going to wet that first in my water, dab it off, then pick up some paint, keep it in shot like this, so it's coated on both sides. And then I'm going to use another brush here just to tap it onto the page, and you'll see the splatters. So you can do as little or as much as you desire. And I should have said too, I'm running out of my sheets. If you don't want things to be cover up, because the splatters can get everywhere, so whatever you don't want covered in splatters, I suggest you put something over the top of it to protect it. There we go with that, and I'll wash that brush out. Leave this aside to dry. We'll come back to that in a couple of minutes. Put the water aside. Clean up all those splatters. Okay, these pages, in the last video, I said we are going to cut all the pages down to 8 inches high or 20.4 centimeters high. So if you've gone ahead and done that, that's well and good. If you haven't, if you want to do that now, we're going to do that on all these base pages, cut them down to 8 inches high. There's a couple here I haven't done as yet. This one here, this is that sketchbook, I keep saying sketchbook paper, yes, art paper, wherever it is. The page was just splattered with white paint. We're going to replace this one with that page. So that one you don't have to cut down, just these other ones. So all I do is when the pages are folded over in half, make sure they all match up, and you burnish this spine, and then just get a pencil. These middle ones are so the first three. So if you've downloaded this image, that gets cut to 8 inches high. These first 3 pages I've cut down. You don't have to do it this way. If you wanted, you can cut them as wide as you want. Our cover is 6 inches wide, but to take pages that are about 5.5, because you want to leave a little bit of room for when these pages do bulk up. So these first 3 pages, the 2 copy pages and the signature cover, I've cut at 5.5 inches wide, which 5.5 inches, which is what, 5.5 is 14 centimeters wide. And then these rest of them I've cut at 5.25 inches wide, so which is say 13.5 centimeters. So this one here, I'm going to go ahead and cut this at 5.25 wide. Let's see if I cut it. See if I cut it at 8 inch. No, I haven't cut it at 8 inches first. Cut it down to 8 inches. So just mark that off, and get my craft knife here. Line the marks up. Cut that down slowly but firmly, and then we go ahead and mark it 5.25 inches wide. I always like to turn it. I'm left-handed, in case you hadn't noticed it. I like to turn where I'm going to cut is on the outside. So if I make a mistake with my cut, I'm not cutting, making a mistake on the side that you want to keep, just the scrap side. So if I don't cut properly, it's not going to ruin your page. That's the way I usually cut the pages down, or cut paper. So there's that one. And then this one here we didn't cut down to, we don't have to worry about the width. We've already taken care of that. I've marked it to 8 inches high, so I'll cut that down now. So you didn't do that yesterday, the last video. There we go. As I said, you don't have to cut this one down because we're going to replace it with the page we've just been splattering. So that's all your base pages. The next thing we're going to do is we'll take this page out, the book page. We'll fold that over so you know where the book page goes back in. We already know this one. This one here is just the guide to let us know. I know where this one goes because it goes next to this middle section there. So turn this around. This one here, we're going to cover it with the Christmas napkin. This napkin is 2-ply. Some come in 3-ply, so you have to take the backing off. Sometimes you can use sticky tape. Sometimes you can just wet your finger and pull it apart like that. Take off the back, so that when we glue that on, you'll be able to still see the book page behind. So this is this is the only time that I use the PVA glue, which I've already got ready here in a bowl. I mix some glue up, and I have a large brush that this glue, I've watered it down so it's like a thick creamy, bit like the paint, a thick creamy consistency, so it will be easier to attach the napkin to the page. So all I do is I keep that aside, and I'm running out of I usually put something down first and then work on top, but I'm running out of platforms to work on. So anyway, we'll just wet this. You just put glue on the entire page. Make sure it's a nice even coat, and then you get it all over. So I usually do it in a crosshatch fashion, and there's the glue there, you can see. So do it one way, and then smooth it up the other way. There we go. That aside. Then we get tissue paper, and I just float it down, and then I have some piece of paper here, and I just rub it out. You will get wrinkles in there, but that's part of the design. I don't worry too much about that. There we go. Make sure you get the edges glued down well and truly. The tissue paper is very delicate, so be careful that you don't tear it. There we go. So that's all ready to go. Just tap it on where there's any wrinkles. You can lift the edges up to see that you got all the edges down. No, I'll just get some more glue and dab on underneath. I think we're good to go everywhere else. That's why I like to work on having a background to work on. Lift it up quickly because the glue will dry, and then I'm going to cut this out. You can tear it off if you want to, but I'm going to cut it. To give an even. So I'm going to fold it. It'll be easier to cut that way. And then trim off the edges. The top and bottom. Make sure those pages are together. Open it up again. Get rid of the scraps. You can keep the scraps for using to make tags and journal cards. I'll just throw it out. Then you can go around and trim off any overhangs. And missed a bit. There you go, I got most of it, I think. Just a few little snaggy bits. There you go. And there's your page. It's like instant decoration. So just leave that aside to dry. Then we can go back to our splatters. You can use a hairdryer or heat gun to dry the splatters if you prefer to speed the process up a little bit. But I'm just going to go ahead and it's still a little bit damp in places, but I'm just going to go ahead and move this over and put the gold splatters on. So just like we did with the white paint, I'm going to do the same with the gold. You can also use a spray bottle and spray the water on. Mix it up. Nice creamy consistency. Runny consistency. There you go. And use your, you've got a paintbrush you can use. Make sure that's all nicely mixed in. And you have your brush fully loaded on both sides, and then you can tap on the page. So cover up what you don't want covered in gold. Load it up again. There we go. I'll wipe off my pen and then move that aside. And then once again we'll clean up around the edges here and leave that to completely dry. Clean up the mess. So now we can get on with the, there's a bit of a mess there. We're finishing the journal cover. So showed you before, this is the fabric I'm going to use. I just got like 50 centimeters or about 20 inches panel of fabric, the Christmas fabric they have out in the haberdashery stores, and then I just cut a panel out here where I wanted it. This is the panel that I just cut out that's bigger than the size that we need, and then I fold this over in half on the wrong two right sides together, and so you've got one straight edge there. Make sure it sits flat. That's one straight edge, and I just line this edge up with this line here, and then see, you can see if it's straight. It's fairly straight there. So now I just mark, which I've done already. You can mark from this center line, you mark out, and got a pen here, I did it in pencil. So our Our base is 8 1/4 by 6 in the folder position, so we're going to do 1/2 inch above that, so that's going to be what did I say it was going to be? Turn this around first. 8 1/4, so now you want it 9 1/4 here, and 6 inches, so you want it 7 inches. No, sorry, 6 1/2 inches, because we've got the center there. So sorry about that. So it's 8 1/4, so you want 1/2 inch on top and bottom, so that's 9 1/4, and it's 6 inches, and you want 1/2 inch overhang, so it's 6 1/2 inches. So it's 9 1/4 by 6 1/2 inches, and that's what's 23 1/2 inches high if we're doing 21 inches. And I usually add in centimeters, I just usually add an extra inch, so that's 23 high by 31 1/2 wide. So I just draw the line, mark it here, 6 1/2 and 6 1/2. Then you draw a line down, and because the top edge, we've determined the top edge is straight, square on, so we can just now make a line that's 9 1/4 inches from the top, 9 1/4, and then we mark across this way, line there. And then if you've got one of those wheels, cutting wheels, you can go along with your ruler and do that. Otherwise you can use your scissors, so which is what I'm going to do. I'm just going to cut it out with my scissors. There you go. Now you can open this up. That's what my pattern looks like from the front. And this is how I fold it over in half. You can test your cover, make sure that's going to fit in there snugly. Should have made sure that I cut it out right before I cut it out. Measured it before I cut it out. But that looks good. So now we're going to glue this in, and you can measure in 1/2 inch from all borders if you want to do that, but I'm just going to eyeball it. I've got a couple of marks here anyway. So so now this is where we use the fabric glue, and to make it easier, we can fold this over to the halfway mark. Because this glue dries very quickly, we'll cover this side in glue, then fold that over, and then flip it over and do the other side. And see if my glue is going to work properly today. It's getting a bit low. Make sure you get the center well covered around the edges. Oops, and in the middle. this glue has acetate in it, so it's got that funny smell. Anyway, make sure. So I've got to center it up again on that center. So I'm just going to actually fold this over and just eyeball it to where I think it is. There you go. Got it really straight, and then I use my use a ruler or bone folder, and I just flatten out the glue from the center outwards. There you go. And just turn it over and do the other side. So my glue is all gluggy. You can also brush the glue on if you want to get a more even coat. But, this time I'll fold it over. Pulling it taut. I like to use my fingernail to get all the edges down. Okay, so that's looking good. So there's a little bit here where the glue didn't attach. So I just get some more glue and dab a little bit more glue on. When you lie it flat, it will bunch up a little bit on the seam. That will be covered up at the end anyway, so that doesn't matter. Now we're going to wipe this glue off. It gets a bit gluggy. So if I can push this in a bit closer. Whoops, sorry about that. So I want you to see that this is the point, the corner. We're going to cut a line about about 1/8 of an inch from that point, and we're going to, you can draw a line. We're going to cut off the corners to reduce the bulk, so you can use a ruler if you want to. And so you want the from here to here and here to here to be the same measurement if possible. It's not vital, but get it as evenly as possible. So we're going to do that on all corners, about 1/8 of an inch or a couple millimeters from that point on all 4 corners. And then we're going to cut these triangles off here. You don't want it more than that because otherwise it gets a bit too bulky. Here. Oops. Got a funny angle for the camera, so it's hard to do. I'll do it this way, might be easier. There we go, much easier. Okay, I'll show you the last one. There you go. Rid of all these bits and pieces. Now we're going to glue up the top and the bottom. So I'll put some glue on there. I'll move this back up again. You can see. Oops. Got some tissue stuck to the top of my glue. There you go. Get rid of some of these little bits of cotton. And we'll get some glue on. Come on, just being stubborn. Sometimes it dries on the top there. You have to wipe it off and make sure it's open. Okay, there we go. So make sure you get that edge here well and truly glued on it. And then on the outer edge, that. Then I go from the middle and fold it over, stretching it slightly all the way along so it get a nice firm edge. The fabric will stretch a little bit, but don't worry about that, you won't see that in the end. And then we do the same to the top. Glue it on the edge of that cover right to the end, then on the outside. It's nice and coated. Okay, then grab from the middle, pull tautly, fold down all the way along. There you go. I like to make sure that it's, I use my thumb to press it down. So there's a little bit coming up there, so just glue it down. There you go. Now on the edges here, don't know if I can do it with this one, but this little bit that you had sticking out here from the edge, that 1/8 of an inch, we're going to fold that in to the corner, and you should have some glue on there, so just go around and fold all those in. If you haven't got any glue, just put a dab of glue in on. Just fold the fabric over into that point like that, so you can see it's folded over, and this will flatten out and we'll glue and then fold it over, so it gives you a nice edge. This one is a little bit short, just managed to get a little bit, and then on this end fold it over, and if it's not gluing down, just put a little dab of glue on it and then fold it over. There we go. Get that glue off. And then we'll do the same as we did for the top and bottom. Just cut that thread off. Put glue along the inner edge. Some more of that thread. Get rid of that. Okay. The outer edge. And now let's turn around. So from the middle, turn it over, press it down, and all the way along. Push it in. Make sure you've got a nice firm edge. Put it down. You should have on the outside your corners are nice and neat. And then we do the last one. Take it from the middle and press that down. This one here is a little bit short because I didn't center it properly. Just encourage it to go down. And there we go. Your nice neat edges. So that's our cover. Oops. Okay, so the next thing is we're going to reinforce our spine. So we want to burnish that middle spine again here. So if you can't see the spine, then sometimes it's a little bit hard to see, so you can draw a pencil line. You can see where to go. Okay. And then I like to, should have done it before they put the cover on, but it doesn't matter. Use this sticky tape again and just reinforce the spine with this masking tape. You can use sports tape, which you get from the pharmacy. If you got some gauze, you can use gauze. Anything that's going to protect the spine from being torn from regular use when you're turning pages. So I just cut that off. We could have put this on first and go up the edges, but this is where the sewing is going to be in this part here, so it doesn't really matter to go right to the edge. And I'm all stuck up. Okay, so that's, put all these things away. So you can choose which side you want the front. I'm going to have it this way with that nice top edge on there, and that's all ready for the signature to sew in. So we'll just put that aside, and this here we'll put back in place. If I can remember which page, I think it was that one there, which is, that's right, it's in the right position. It goes in there. So what haven't I done? This one here. Turn that over like that. And our page. Should be dry. If it's not dry, you can use a blow dryer. Okay, it's all nice and dry. So I'm just going to turn this over. You can uncurl the edges by curling it back the other way. Then fold it over in half. And then we'll cut it down to size and put it back in the journal. We'll put it in the journal. So this, it is already cut down to 8, and we're going to cut it, measure it down to 5 1/4, which is 13.5 centimeters. Okay. You can keep these trims. I usually have a little tray here somewhere to put them in and keep them to make when you're making your tags and your journal cards. So now this one can go back into the journal. So before we sew the signature in, the next thing we're going to do is I like this is going to be covered in the end anyway, so I like to put some tape on the center here, because this is going to take a lot of, this is only copy paper, and this is going to take a lot of pressure when you sew the signature in, so I just reinforce it. Good thing about this tape is it's not too thick. So it doesn't add a lot of bulk, and you only need to do it on one side. You don't have to do this, but I like to make sure that the pages are not going to get torn. There we go, that's all you have to do, and then just have to reinforce that spine again. And there we go. Our signature is ready to sew into our cover. So the next thing I didn't show you last time was the awl. This is my awl. I don't know where I got it from. It's got a point. Anything with a point end, you don't have to have an awl. You need a large needle will do to punch holes into the spine, the cover and the signature. It's got to go through all those pages, so something nice and pointy. This is heavy but effective, so we start with the cover, and we get a pencil and a ruler. And I said on this, this tape allows you, I can still see that center line here. So you measure your, the width is 8 1/4 or 21. So you start, so you make 8 1/4, which is 4 1/8 here. So that's your center mark here. You may want to, so I'm doing it in pencil, and then I usually do, depending on the size, I can go 1, 2, 3 up here, which gives you 1 inch or a couple of 2.5 centimeters from the top. Here another hole, and then the same again, 3 inches from the center to here. You can actually choose, you can do 3 inches or 2.5 inches, it's up to you. We've got that envelope in the middle here, so if you do you can have this envelope, you can have it at the bottom, the top, or the middle. So it's going to end up with, it will stay in place because the other pages are on either side. It's only going to end up with, if you do it in the middle, just for instance, it's 4 1/8, and then I did 3 inches, so it will only have one piece of cotton holding it in place, but it should be fairly secure. As I said, it's got those pages on both sides, so that shouldn't be any worry. Now we use a hole and punch through the middle like this. If you've got, to help you do that, I haven't got any sponge, but you can use a piece of sponge and put it on top. It's a tiny piece of sponge, and then punch the hole in that way. My tiny piece of sponge, just big enough it's got to be big enough to run the large eye of the needle and the thread. So remember, your needle will have a big eye at the end, so, and then it'll have the thread on there, so it's got to be big enough to have those pass through. Then we'll put that aside, and here you have some clamps. Got various size clamps here. These come in handy. So you make sure you got all your pages in place here. We've only got the base pages. I usually don't sew the signature in till I've done all the pages, but this time it's an empty journal. So make sure all those pages all nicely, all the spines are nicely together. So you just push it in firmly down like that. Make sure they're all centered like that. And then if you want this, where is it? I don't measure it, but if you want that in the center, make sure that stays in the center. And then get some clips here, clip on either side. Oops. So the most important point here is to keep, sometimes having a ruler in there and pressing against the spine will help you keep it in place until you clip it all up. Oops, keep it in shot. I need another one. Make sure you get that center page connected. There we go. And take that out. If it looks good all together. Sometimes you have to adjust. If it's not, take them out and just make sure you press it in so you can get it all nice and tucked in to the center there. And then re-clip. Then go around the other side, and that one looks pretty good there. You're not going to get it perfect, but as long as it looks good and it will lay flat. And now we're going to do the same as we did before. These pages are 8 inches high, so this is where your spine is, so make sure. So this time I'm going to do 8 inches, so that's 4 inches is the center here. And then we'll do 3 inches, 1, 2, 3, the top, then 1, 2, 3, that way. And then the next thing we do is the way I try and get my holes to go through and come out on that spine is I keep the pages closed as much as possible, and I take the awl and I put it on that mark, the center mark, and then I push down, and hopefully it will come out right on that spine line. Don't know if you can see that where it comes through. So I'll just mark them, and then I'll get the needle and I'll reinforce those holes. We just want to make sure we get a hole to start with. Do that with all three. Hold it straight. There we go. And then I get my needle and I push. What edge have I got? Okay. Then I push it through. Make sure the hole's big enough this way. And the bottom one. So when you're sewing in the signature, you'll be sewing from the outside as well back in, and the holes are so easy, they close up very quickly. So it's handy to go back that way to reinforce it from the outside. As you can see, it doesn't always go smoothly. You've got to find that. There you go. You can just see the hole better, whereas it's very hard to see it sometimes. So you just push it back through and it makes it bigger. You can see it makes those holes a little bit bigger, and it should be easier to thread your needle through. Okay, now we're going to this string here. Getting ahead of myself here. Okay, with the string we're going to measure it 3 times the height of your journal. 1, 2, 3, and then I leave a little extra. Cut that off just in case you have to undo it all again. And then I just dip my finger in some water and just wet the end so you get all those threads stay together. And then thread it through, where is it? Upside down. Thread it through the end. And I just threaded that far in. It's enough not to come back out, and gives you enough room to sew the thread through without it doubling up. Now we take this is our cover. This is the right way up. This is our signature. This is upside down. This is the right way up because this one here is the front panel, and turn that over. So it's very important to make sure that you put your signature in the cover the right way up. And then we want to center this into your signature cover. So you can take that clamp out and reposition it on both ends like that. Turn it around and do the other side, making sure that it stays in the center. There we go. So that you can see that all your spines line up inside there, and that you got the same amount of space at the top here as you do at the bottom here, between the top edge of your cover and the top edge of your signature. And then take the cotton and needle. We start in the middle and we push that through there. Leave some of this dangling here So about that much. You can always pull it through more if you need to. And then I didn't gotta find my hole now, haven't I? There it is. I didn't push these in on the outside like I did with the signature. Find the hole and go. Sometimes you've got to wiggle it around for a pop. There it is. And pull it back through. That. And now you want to keep this thread out of the way, and you're going to put this back through the center, but you don't want to catch that thread, otherwise you won't be able to tighten the string. That, pull that taut a bit, and this one here, and then we'll go through the top here, through the hole. I can line it up with the signature. Push it through. So just pull them in opposite directions to get it taut, like this, firmly but not too firmly. And you want to, this should snap back. That indicates that you've got it tight enough. If not, you just pull it here and make sure these threads come through like that. Then you have this thread on this side, and your needle, you'll go from this side, same side, and thread it through so that it comes out the other side. So you want these threads on either side of the center thread. And then you take the needle out and tie them together. Just do a double check that these are tight enough. They're not, so you need to pull them tighter. And undo that string there, tighten them up, pull them taut, and then tie them up again. There you go. See if they are there. Yes, they're tight enough now. They spring back. There, okay. You're good to go. And then now we can tie another. I do it 3 times. So that's 2 and that's 3 knots like that. And there's your dangles. You can cut them off if you don't want to have anything hanging. Putting any dangles on the bottom there. You can tie this into a bow. Or you can just leave it. Cut it off a little bit and leave it as it is. Don't cut it off close to that knot in case you have to undo it for some reason. And then we can take our clamps off. This is the exciting bit. We have a journal all ready to go, ready to decorate. Go through and make sure all the pages look good, all sitting where they're supposed to be. The envelope, it all looks good. That page you just made, and the journal center. Okay, I'm just going to trim that up so they're both, these threads are both the same length. Put my needle away so I don't lose it. And there we go. You have a working journal. And you've got some pages already decorated. That's all we're going to do today. In the next video, we'll get to doing some of the background pages, and while they're drying, we'll start working in the journal, doing some of the flips and pockets and such. So I'll see you then. Thank you very much for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.